Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and we're here today with special guest, Sam Bennett, who's here to share with us the 15-minute method, the surprising simple art of getting it done. So is there always something you're procrastinating about and you just don't know how to get around that? Well, you're not the only one. And I'm so glad today we have Sam Bennett to help us discover how to move beyond that. So Sam Bennett is an author, writer, speaker, actor, and creativity and productivity specialist. She's the founder of therealsambennett.com, a company committed to helping overwhelmed creatives and frustrated overachievers get unstuck. Sam is also a popular course instructor on LinkedIn Learning with over 1 million class participants worldwide. So let's welcome to the show, Sam Bennett.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hi.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this. So 15-minute method, what is that?
It couldn't be simpler. Here's my plan. Here's my idea. Stick with me on this. I maintain that if you, me, anybody, everybody, spends 15 minutes a day on something that matters to you every single day, you will see a radical shift in your life. That's it. That's the whole method. It sounds almost silly when you say it out loud, but here's what I notice is we are so busy getting everything done for everybody else, for the job, for the kids, for the family, for the world, all the things. And the things that really we know would make a difference to us, to our heart, to our spirit, to our body, to our finances, to our family, to our community, somehow don't get done. Sometimes they don't even make it onto the list, much less the bottom of the list. So what I'm encouraging is move it up to the top of the list, spend just 15 minutes doing whatever that is for you. Maybe it's 15 minutes of prayer and meditation. Maybe it's 15 minutes of sitting in the garden, but maybe it's writing your novel or practicing violin or painting or drawing or sketching or dancing or whatever it is that's on your heart that you're like, that'd be good. Do that.
I just love that. I think that's so empowering to, in many ways, put ourselves first. But how did you even get to this place where you were developing this? How did this even show up on your radar?
Well, I've been beating the drum on the 15-minute thing for a long time, and I'm certainly not alone. I didn't invent it. But what I notice is oftentimes we'll get a big idea for something we want to do. We want to clear the clutter from the whole house. We want to write that book. We want to change careers. We want to do whatever it is we want to, we want to make our bodies healthier and stronger. And we get a beautiful picture in our mind of what that might be. And then we immediately get overwhelmed. Where do I even start? How do I even do that? How can I even do that? I'm already so busy. Where's the time? Where's the money? There's no way. And then we start waiting. We're like, well, when I have a free Saturday, well, when I have 2 weeks off, well, in the summer, well, when the kids are gone, well, and we're waiting for like this 3 months in Provence to move forward on the stuff that matters. And I'm here to tell you, it's not coming. And when it does come, I do this myself all the time where I'm like, oh, I've got all day Saturday. I'm going to get so much done. And then Saturday comes and my body and mind are like, oh no, we would like to rest, please. And so I end up doing other things and not doing the productive things. So what I'm saying is just acknowledge the reality of your life. You're not going to get suddenly way less busy. We're all busy. But we can carve out 15 minutes for ourselves. And I can hear the voice that's like, oh, but Sam, that's selfish. Like that really, all these people need me. Okay, not for 15 minutes, they don't. The job can wait, the people can wait, the kids can wait for 15 minutes. And what I notice is that when you take that time, especially every single day, it sort of overflows to the rest of your day. A little bit like when you work out in the morning and then you're walking around all day like, that's right, I'm awesome. I was at the gym at 6. How are you?
Yeah, we all know that feeling.
Mhm.
Oh, well, and so I know you talked about that this is while this might not be new information, it's something you've been, a proponent of for some time. So why did you write the book? Was there inspiration behind it? Were people just coming and saying, "Hey, you need to teach me this"?
It was actually my editor who said, "Would you consider writing a book on overwhelm?" And I immediately said yes, because it's a word that I hear so much. I hear it more and more and more. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed. And I really wanted to poke a hole in that, because overwhelm is one of those tricky things, a little bit like time management, right? Time management is not about time. And overwhelm is not about what is happening in the outside world. Overwhelm is something you do to yourself on the inside. And I can prove it to you, because when we look at people who have jobs in which they are constantly overwhelmed, people who work in emergency rooms, first responders, people who work in animal rescue, where it's always a crisis. When you look at them, do they look overwhelmed? No, they are calm. They have a procedure. Raised Lord, most of them have a good sense of humor, like they may be in an overwhelming circumstance, but they themselves are not overwhelmed. So this tells us that there is a way to handle all the stuff that the world is throwing at you and not be overwhelmed inside of yourself. And I feel like spending that 15 minutes keeping your own flame lit, letting your own inner self know that your voice is important, that what matters to you is important, that your hobbies, your dreams, your own personal agenda for yourself is important, goes a long way to relaxing the shoulders, enabling yourself to take a deep breath, and then face all the things that are coming at you a million miles a minute, like they are all the time.
So did you use these practices, the 15-minute practice? I mean, because you've got such a phenomenal background. And I know when we talk about working in as an actor, just how much that can take of your day. So how did you incorporate this into your work life?
It absolutely started back when I was working as an actor full time. Uh, because when you're an actor, it's sort of an extreme version of being self-employed, right? You're always looking for work. You're always hustling. You're always trying to, move things forward, and you never know what's going to work. It's not like there's one single path. Um, so it's easy to feel, like there's just a million things you should be doing all the time. So one of the bargains I made with myself was I had to do at least one significant thing for my acting career every single day. And so sometimes that meant I was rehearsing a new monologue for myself. Sometimes it meant that I had an audition. Sometimes it meant that I was on set all day. Um, but whatever it was, I needed to be able to check something off the list so I could say, okay, I made a step on this goal. And now I can focus on the other things, like my 37 other part-time jobs and gigs and projects and shows and auditions and half-time and part-time, and my, spiritual practice and my relationships and my family and all the other things. So it was a way for me to give myself an endpoint, to stop feeling bad about what I wasn't doing and start feeling good about what I was doing.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. And I know when you went through that list of working different projects, because I think most people, they think, oh, yeah, I want to be an actor until they realize how much work goes into that. It is,
Oh,
it is not like, hey, I show up and they like me and they now cast me for everything. Yeah. But I think people feel like that maybe that's, something that will happen. But as you went through this list, I'm sure there are people out there that are pulling out their paper bags to breathe in, because it sounds like there's a lot, the day can get very overwhelming. So do we start first thing in the morning, like you were saying earlier? Is that where we should always start?
well, I would never say always, because everybody knows their own life better than I know your life. If you're looking for a recommendation, yeah, I would say first thing in the morning. Just because for me, the day gets away from me. I promise myself that I'm going to do something at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, but by then, my energy tank is low. I'm a little burnt out. It's easy to just go, I'll skip it today. But if I do it first thing, and you know what I always say, do it before you check your email, before you check your email, before you check your email, spend 15 minutes on something that matters to you. Um, and one of the other reasons why it's 15 minutes is because that to me feels like a really manageable amount of time. You see these articles where they're like, well, you should be working out a total of 5 hours a week, or you should spend this amount of time or that amount. I'm like, who's got 5 hours? Like, where's that coming from? Um, but 15 minutes, that feels manageable. I can get up 15 minutes earlier. I can put something off for 15 minutes. That feels like I can do it. And it is shocking how much you can get done in 15 minutes a day. I mean, let's say you want to write a book. A lot of people want to write a book. If you write for 15 minutes a day and you don't edit yourself too much, you can get out about 250 words in 15 minutes. Well, in 400 days, that's 50,000 words. That's a book. So in a little over a year, you can write a book in 15 minutes a day. And not only that, you become the person who has had the experience of writing a book.
You end up becoming a basically like a lighthouse for so many other people, where they're probably asking, like, how did you do that? You're so busy. How did you carve out the time?
That's right. That's right. And, there's so many great plans out there in the world for achieving more and doing more and being more in your life. And I'm a fan, get it. If you're into getting up at 5 a.m., get up at 5 a.m. If making your bed every day changes things for you, then make your bed every day. But for those of us who the plans don't really work that well, you know, you get to devise your own plan. And just don't psych yourself out of it. Sometimes people are like, well, I don't know where to start. Okay, then sit there for 15 minutes not knowing where to start. Stare at a blank piece of paper for 15 minutes. 15 minutes of enforced boredom never hurt a person.
Amen to that.
Right? I mean, remember those long hours on those car rides when you were a kid that they were like hours and hours of just like laying down in the way back or in the back seat and just staring out the window for hours at a time? I feel like that's good for a person. And we don't do it very much anymore, right? We're constantly entertained. So to rely on yourself for your own entertainment for 15 minutes a day, I feel like is really sort of character building. And allows you to get in touch with your own creative spirit. And creativity does not mean artistic. Let me just, for those of you who roll your eyes that, oh, I'm not creative. Yes, you are. You may not be artistic. Everyone is creative. Not everyone is artistic. But your creativity shows up in your innovative problem solving. So where do you solve problems easily? What problems do you love to solve? Oh, I love to solve the problem of quilting. Like, I love trying to figure that out. I love solving the problem of, making low sugar desserts. I love to solve whatever it is that you're great at. Lean into that a little bit.
How empowering is that? What are some of the main objections that you get? Do people say, well, I'm not even sure, what I'm passionate about or where to start? Or are there other ones that you get as well?
Sure. And again, I think the 15-minute method is perfect for that, because it's like, great, then make a list of, however many, 20 things that you think you might sort of like to try, and then spend 15 minutes a day trying it. Like, oh, I thought I might like writing a screenplay, but it turns out, that wasn't really for me. Great. Well, now you've tried it. Now you know. Well, I sort of thought I might like writing poetry, and it turns out it just flows right out of me. It's incredible. I never knew. Great. I sort of thought I might like to design a coloring book, and that was fun, but I don't really want to do it again. Great. Whatever. You can switch up your 15 minutes as many times as you want. But I'll tell you, Marianne, I run a daily practicum. So for 15 minutes a day, it's a subscription thing. People subscribe, and for 15 minutes a day, 12 noon Eastern time, every weekday, we turn on the Zoom, people say hi, we take a breath, I start the timer, 15 minutes later, the timer goes off, everybody turns their camera back on, and I'm telling you, they have this like post-orgasmic glow. They people look up at me like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Like, I just got so much done, or I just solved this problem that I've been thinking about for ages, or I just made that phone call I had been too afraid to make, or I just sent that email I've been putting off for 6 weeks, or I just cleared that stack of paper that's been bothering me." Whatever it is, that sense of like, "Oh, I had something I wanted to do, and I set my mind to it, and I did it." We build esteem with other people by keeping our promises to them. We build self-esteem by keeping our promises to ourselves.
Wow.
And yeah, and so to make yourself that promise of, "Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna spend 15 minutes on something that matters to me." It may only matter to me. It may also matter to the rest of the world, I don't know. It lights up, I'm telling you, it lights up your life. It puts a light in your eyes and a spring in your step, and it hopscotches right over your perfectionism. Because this is really the thing I see a lot is like, well, all this stuff like, I don't really know what to do, or I don't know where to start, or I'm not sure if this is right. That's all perfectionism in disguise. And but to say to yourself, well, I mean, it's 15 minutes. How perfect is it going to be in 15 minutes? And even if you do a terrible job, well, you're going to do it again tomorrow, and the next day, 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 and the next day. And it is not too hard to imagine that if you played guitar every day for 15 minutes a day, it would not be very long before you became a better guitar player. If you studied Stoic philosophy for 15 minutes a day, it would not be very long before you had a pretty good handle on Stoic philosophy.
I love how in your book you actually have 52 suggestions for people that maybe don't know where to start so they can kind of go over this going, "Oh, okay, I think maybe, getting some house plants and caring for those might be something that I'm interested in." Or maybe I mean, you have this whole list of just amazing things. So it gives people, I think, many hints on how they can move forward.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we know how it is, right? It's all about sparkly breadcrumbs, right? One thing sort of leads to another thing that leads to another thing. I started out thinking I wanted houseplants, and then I sort of got into, bonsai, and now I'm all, now I'm all about bonsai. You know, these things that um, the world uses kind of a diminishing word for some of these things, which is hobbies. But I think hobbies are right there in the center of our soul. The hobbies are the things that we love, that we do just for the pure joy of them. We don't do it for the money. We don't do it for praise. We don't do it because we think anybody else cares. We do it because we love it. And that's a very special gift to give to yourself. And maybe the world. Back when I was younger and all my friends were having children, I would make cashmere sock monkeys as a baby gift. And I have to say, they were in fact very cute. And every baby shower I went to, people were like, "Oh my gosh, these are so great. You should make them. You should sell them. You should have a business. These are so great." And I was like, "Absolutely not. I love making these for the people that I love and for the babies that I'm about to love. I don't ever want to have to do this. I don't ever want to put the pressure of a job onto this thing that is just pure delight for me." Um, But then there's other things, like my acting and like my writing where I'm like, "Oh no, that's my job. That's what I'm here for." So to make that distinction for yourself, so we don't put the pressure of a job on a hobby, but nor do we take the things that are really our job, the things that you are really on this planet to do, and treat them like, "Oh no, no, that's just a hobby." Right? I think there's a line there, and playing around for 15 minutes a day can help you distinguish those things. And when we hear about people who make a big job switch, I was in corporate America and now I'm a yoga teacher. And you go like, "Well, how did that happen?" Well, they had something that was a hobby that ignited their passion. And over time they went, "You know what? That's not just my passion. That's my job. That's my art. That's my life."
It's interesting what sparks our, curiosity and creativity. And I just love how you say it can be anything. But how do we gauge how we're doing? Do we keep a diary? How do we gauge how things are going with this?
If that's important to you, then keep track of it the way you want to keep track of it. You know, I offer a 7-day downloadable real life planner that gives you some ways to sort of keep track of some of that stuff every day. Jerry Seinfeld very famously keeps a calendar where he writes jokes every day and he puts an X on the calendar. And now he's done it for so many years, but he always says he never wanted to break the chain. You get a certain number of X's going and you're like, well, I'm not going to stop today. I've done it for 3 years. I'm not going to not do it today. You can also, but if accountability is important to you, get a buddy, join the practicum or get a friend and say, hey, I really want to do this. Would you, meet me at the office 15 minutes early and we'll just sit quietly at our desks and put a little time into this every day. Or, I want to take a walk every day. Would you go with me? Whatever it is that is going to help and motivate you, particularly when you're discouraged, is great. But what I notice is that when you do it and you sort of get into the rhythm of it and you start seeing the results of it, the pleasure principle sort of takes over. Your body likes what it likes. Your mind likes what it likes. And eventually you get to the point where you're like, oh, I can't wait. Oh, I have to. Oh, I wouldn't miss this. I love doing this. It calms me. It rests me. It revivifies me. And it gives you something interesting to talk about at cocktail parties. So.
Well, how about for those folks that are perfectionists? How does this work or help, or how does this work with them?
Oh, golly. Perfectionism is such an unbelievably vicious trap. And when I started talking to people about perfectionism, it just breaks your heart when you hear people say it out loud. When they say what's inside their heads out loud, they say things like, well, if it can't be perfect, why would I even try? Or I know I'm not good at this, so I don't even want to start. And what I want to say is, think about your favorite book or your favorite movie or your favorite TV show or your favorite person. Are they your favorite because they're perfect? No. My favorite movies are distinctly not perfect. In fact, some might even call them a little trashy. But they're perfect for me. I love them. I love them for their flaws. I love them for how weird they are, just like the people in my life, right? I love them because they're very not perfect. And the ways in which they are not perfect are charming and enchanting and sometimes infuriating, but they're themselves. And I wouldn't want them to be any other way, right? So when I think about perfect, I think about something that is entirely itself. I think about something having perfect integrity. Like an egg is perfect, or a leaf is perfect, or a baby, right? If we had 8 babies in front of us, we would not say that baby is more perfect than that baby. Of course not. All the babies are perfect. So I think the 15-minute method is a way to invite yourself into a softening around this myth of perfectionism, that it's even a goal worth chasing, and into an area of more self-compassion, of greeting yourself with grace where you are. Are you as good at this today as you want to be? Are you as good at this today as you will be 6 months from now? Absolutely not. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Sam Bennett in regards to her new book, The 15-Minute Method. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Have you dreamt of writing your own book but felt lost on where to start? Introducing DIYbook.us, your personal guide to bringing stories to life. Whether it's your life story, business insights, or unique experiences, DIYbook.us makes it easy and affordable. With our step-by-step online program, you'll receive a weekly email prompt tailored to you. Don't let your story go untold. Visit www.diybook.us and start your writing journey today with our free 7-day trial. diybook.us, where your story comes to life.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Are you a coffee lover who wants to make a difference? Look no further than Fire Department Coffee, a veteran-owned business that gives back to support first responders in need. Each batch of coffee is freshly roasted right here in the USA by a dedicated team of first responders and coffee experts. So when you enjoy a cup of Fire Department coffee, you're not only drinking high-quality coffee, you're supporting members of your community. Start your day with a coffee that gives back. Visit firedepartmentcoffee.com. That's fire, D-E-P-T, coffee.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest Sam Bennett, who's sharing with us her brand new book, The 15-Minute Method, The Surprisingly Simple Art of Getting It Done. I'm sure people in Hollywood were really paying attention to you as you are going through your day, and it probably seems like magically you have additional time to do some of the things that you love. Do you have any stories to share with us?
I will tell you the truth about the last 2.5 years for me. I've had long haul COVID for the last 2.5 years. And for those of you who don't know, long haul COVID is when you get COVID and then you don't get better. Now COVID and long haul COVID are sort of funny because people got such different symptoms and the disease showed up for them in so many different ways. You know, some people had like flu-like symptoms, other people just had fatigue, other people just had a little headache, other people, it was just depended on who you were and what you got. Well, I got the fatigue kind and it didn't go away. So I have pretty much been in bed for the past 2.5 years. And there were a lot of days where not only could I not get out of bed, I could barely roll over. I couldn't read. I couldn't watch television. And for me to say I couldn't read, like you might as well say like I cut off my own hands. Like I just can't. It was so incomprehensible to me that my body and mind were in such a state that I couldn't. I just couldn't. So I wrote this book in 15 minutes a day. I ran my mid-6-figure business in 15 minutes a day. I moved cross country in 15 minutes a day. I mean, the things that are possible that you don't know are possible. When you have unlimited energy, which I did for a long time, I always used to joke that my production company should be called Sheer Force of Will Productions. Like, there were so many things I did just because I set my mind and took my life energy and just did not take no for an answer and just barreled through and muscled my way through. And I had a lot of my self-worth tied to my doing, right? Who I was what I did. I was valuable to people because of what I did, of the work that I did, of how I showed up for them. Well, then I hit this wall in my life where I couldn't show up for anybody. I couldn't power through a shower, much less producing a show or anything else. And I really had to learn how to manage the limited amount of energy that I had and be gentle with myself and pay close attention, because there were some days that I did have more energy and it was like, oh, quick, let's get some stuff done while I'm still standing up. I learned to have to say no to things that I didn't want to say no to. And I learned to unhook my worth from my doing. Who I am is not what I do. And for those of you who are running around like your tail's on fire, I encourage you to maybe spend 15 minutes thinking more about who you are being and less about what you are doing.
That has to be one of my favorite Hollywood's stories. So thank you for sharing that. It's true. I mean, I had COVID. I have had long haul COVID for a while. Sometimes I still can't smell things. It's very bizarre. And I know exactly what you mean by going through these. It was like months of exhaustion. It's like there's nothing. It was hard for me to stay up for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it was crazy from being a person who has a pretty active life.
Yeah.
And I really love how you used your 15 minutes in the morning to make life happen. It just really shows how important that is.
Yeah, and getting help and asking for help and letting things be kind of half-assed. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that I did that I was like, well, this is not very good, but it's the best I can do right now. So, if the world tells me it needs to be made better, I'm sure I'll hear about it. But for right now, I talked a lot in my first book about getting a C, right? Quit striving for an A+ all the time. Just get a C. Do the work. Show up, do the work, show up, do the work. The one thing I will say in favor of Hollywood and a lifetime in the theater that has been invaluable to me during this time is a thing that performers learn called performance energy, which is when it is time for you to go on stage and do your thing, you and I both, you can do it. I don't care if you are hungover with a head wound. I don't care that your best friend just died. I don't care that your love life is in shambles. I don't care. It doesn't matter. When it's showtime, you do the show. And that saved me, because it did not matter how dead I was inside of my body. If I had to teach a class, if I had to do a webinar, if I was getting interviewed, if I had to do a keynote, I'd slap some lipstick on and do that show and bring 100% every time and then go back and collapse, right? But it is, if there's any parents out there worrying because your kids are interested in the arts or in theater, please encourage them. First of all, it's just wonderful. They'll meet the best people in the whole world. It's great for them. And they learn skills that will be so deeply applicable to them in the rest of their lives. One, just being able to get up in front of people and speak at all, which most people can't even do. But also, this performance energy thing is, I had no idea how valuable a skill that was until it was almost my only skill.
That's just so empowering. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree with you. I think there's so much fun that could be had working in Hollywood and movies and plays and what have you. It's a very different animal, and it's fun to learn it.
I have a friend who I met originally in the theater, and he went on to have kind of a big career at Apple. And he always said that whenever he was interviewing applicants at Apple, he could always tell who had theater experience and who didn't. And he felt like the 2 years in the theater should just be mandatory for everybody, like the Israeli army. Like you just have to do it. Because what you learn about, in the corporate world, we call it teamwork. In the theater, we call it ensemble. right? Everyone working together for a common goal, and everyone's part is important, whether you're on stage or off. What you learn about meeting deadlines. I mean, opening night is opening night. I don't care how you feel about it. What you learn about energy, what you learn about communication skills, what you learn about body language, what you learn about history and language and being able to express yourself, what you understand about emotions. Your EQ is sky high. Like, I'm telling you, it's price. I'm so biased, but seriously, it's priceless. And, so many kids are having such a hard time having grown up during the pandemic, living in a world that's not like any world we've ever really seen before. And I'm telling you, theater teachers save lives. Librarians save lives. Art teachers save lives. Giving your kids a place to go where their creative voice is not just encouraged, but is mandatory is a beautiful thing to do to help your child grow up to be the person that they can be.
I love how in your book you have so many examples for people in how they can move their life forward using this 15-minute method. What are some of the main reasons people come to you for?
I often hear the word burnout, that people just feel like they got nothing in their tank and they don't know why they're doing what they're doing anymore. They've lost track. They've lost the thread a little bit. I hear burnout a lot. I hear desire a lot. It can be hard. It's, when you've wanted something for a really long time, it was certainly my experience in Hollywood. I worked so hard to become an actor, to grow my skills, to do the things I needed to do to have a career. And I did pretty well. I mean, I have actually been paid to be on television. I mean, it happened, which is more than many people can say. But it always felt like there was more. I always felt like I had my nose pressed up against the glass of like, oh, if only I could make it there. Oh, how come I'm not there? How come I'm not there? And over the years, living in that constant state of desire can be really debilitating, and you end up getting fatigued instead of inspired by your own desire, you get fatigued by your own desire. And the mystery of like, why hasn't this happened yet? I've done all the things. I've made all the affirmations. I show up. I do the stuff. Like, I've done the things that everybody said I was supposed to do. How come this hasn't worked for me? To reconnect with your own simple joy, with your delight in who you are, the weird, quirky ways your mind works, the things that give pleasure to your body, just breathing, dancing, moving, taking a walk, sitting in the garden with the sun on your face. Like, these things are deeply restorative and can sort of put you back in right relationship with your desire and with your plans and with your life. When you start feeling sort of bitter and discouraged and old, I remember at one point I was so mad because my Hollywood career was a lot of callbacks. It's like callback, 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 no. Callback, callback, go to producers, no. Callback, no. Go to producers, no. Go to producers, no. Go to producers, no. Go to producers. I mean, by the time there were a couple of shows that I probably shouldn't say the names of them, but there were a couple of shows that the casting directors would just call me in over and over and over again. And they'd be like, I'm so sorry. We call you in so much and we don't use you. And I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm here. I like being called in. It's fine. But it did get to the point where I was like, if one more person tells me how freaking talented I am, I'm going to punch them in their face. Like, because clearly talent is not the issue at hand. And again, given the odds of what a difficult, world that is, it is sort of amazing that I worked at all. I mean, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I looked like I was about to eat everybody else on set. The, television people particularly are very tiny, generally tend to be pretty tiny people. So I can look back on it now and go, well, not so bad. So yeah, that sense of burnout, that sense of like, I don't even know what I want anymore. I'm also seeing a lot of women at midlife who are going, okay, now what? Did the spouse, did the kids, did the career, did the whatever. I'm not done, but there's no roadmap for me. When we were in our 20s, our 30s, there was a roadmap. You knew what you were supposed to do, whether you did it or not. You were supposed to get a job, find a person, buy a house, and we knew what the path was, whether or not you did those things or could do those things, you knew what the idea was. But at 47, 57, 67, 77, like, it's not really clear what the path is supposed to be. So I'm running some retreats with my dear friend, the incredible women's executive coach, Amy Ehlers. And we take women to Belize, to Crete. This year we're going to Majorca off the coast of Spain to really dig deep into like, what is next for you? What do you want this next chapter of your life to look like? And what are the 15-minute steps that can get you there?
I think that's so exciting. I'm going to have to check that out too. And there was a story in your book that really kind of stuck with me because I think just about all of us have had this kind of experience where you talk about being in this really brutal workout class and they were making you do not making you do, you were doing the reverse bear crawl.
Oh,
And I gotta tell you, I mean, I was reading this and I'd taken yoga for years and then had not gone for a period of time and then started again. And I felt exactly like that in the class.
oh,
I'd
I
love for you to
love,
share that.
of course. Yeah, well, this is one other thing that long COVID took away from me is I love to work out and I love to work out really hard. Like I liked lifting heavy things and doing, hard, sweaty workouts. Um, and so this is obviously pre-COVID. I can't do that anymore, but pre-COVID, I was in this workout class and yeah, we were doing this reverse bear crawl thing, which was ridiculous. It was so hard. I was like sweating. I'm red in the face. I'm crying. I'm snotty. And somehow it felt like everyone in the class was 30 years younger than me and like just lapping me right and left. And it was so discouraging. And part of me was just like, I could just stand up and leave. I mean, I am paying them to be here. Like, I don't actually have to do this. But there was another part of me that was like, Sam, don't quit. Don't quit. You can do this badly. You can go slowly, but you cannot quit. So I was struggling between these two voices that just said, oh, for Pete's sake, go home. And the voice that said, you better not. You better not. Prove this to yourself. Prove it that you can muscle through it, that you can have the stamina to be bad at this for long enough to get good at it. And eventually the trainer walked over to me and she looked at me and she goes, so, does it hurt or is it just hard? And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, it's just hard. And she said, good. And she walked away. And I thought that was such an important distinction too for our life. Certainly for reverse bear crawls, but also just for your life. Like, does it hurt? Is it hurting you? Is it hurting other people? Because if it's hurting you, then stop. That's an important sign. Something is wrong. And you need to acknowledge that pain and do what you can to change it, because that's not right. But if it's just hard, there's something there for you. There's a lesson for you to learn that you are stronger than you think, that you can do more than you think. And like I said, you can do it badly, you can do it slowly, you can do it half-assedly, but do it. Because the feeling you get, the feeling I got walking away from that class of like, okay, I was terrible at that, but I did it. And every day I did it, put another brick in the path, made me go a little further and made me a little stronger and feel a little better. And for somebody who had crushingly low self-esteem for almost my entire life, even those little steps of like, hey, good job, Sam. Like, not way to not quit, girl, was like, ooh, I hear that voice. I can stand up inside of that. That voice gives me strength. Thing about midlife, right? I mean, yeah, we're not 22 anymore. And the things our bodies could do then, the way our face looked then, the way our bellies looked, it's different now. And we're not trying to go back. I would not let that 22-year-old make decisions for me today. She had a lot to learn. And whatever choices I've made have brought me to here. So we have to start from here. And this is where the 15-minute thing comes in. Like I said, you're not going to, suddenly wake up with a life that's completely different. But you can start. You can take that 15 minutes and say, all right, I'm just going to stretch a little bit and see how that feels. I'm going to sing a little bit and see how that feels. I'm going to throw away these clothes that haven't fit in 7 years and see how that feels. You know, I'm not it's amazing what gets revealed to you when you are willing to greet yourself with grace.
What a big lesson that is. And I agree with you. I wouldn't go back to my 20, 30-year-old
Ugh,
something to drive to steer my boat. Forget it, you know?
right?
Well, and I just, kind of realized, oh my goodness, it has been a long time since you and I had a talk. I mean, we talked back in 17 in regards to your first book, well, one of your books, Start Right Where You Are. And yeah, you have been just teaching people about this for such a long period of time. What do you want readers and our listeners to take away from this book?
Marianne, one of my favorite sounds in the world is when people go, "Oh, I love that sound." And sometimes there's something that comes after it where they go like, "Oh, well, that sounds easy," or, "Oh, I could try that," or, "Oh, that could be fun." So that's really all I want is for people to make that sound. "Oh, yeah, 15 minutes. Cool." And just plant that seed even. You know, you don't have time to date? Fine. Do you have 15 minutes to, I don't know, maybe email somebody that you've liked for a while or have a virtual 15-minute coffee with someone? Maybe. Um, can you keep an eye out for the 15-minute opportunities in your life? Again, going back to Hollywood when I used to have a cabaret show that I would put on for myself in the car, usually on the 405, going from the valley to the basin and back. Because I had all this time in the car and I was like, well, I might. And so I had a whole act. It made a long commute a lot of fun. Learning new cabaret songs. Now, I'm not a singer. I'm not going to put on a cabaret show, but it was a blast for me. So like, how can you maybe even find the unused pockets of 15-minute-ness and maybe put down the Candy Crush game and maybe stop scrolling for a minute and use your 15 minutes for something that, again, that matters to you, that delights you. And then if it feels good, do it again tomorrow and do it again the next day, and then start talking to people about it. When we share who we are, it's amazing. And I read a study that said that if you're having a meeting, a team meeting in your office, and people introduce themselves, they say, "Hi, I'm Sam from marketing," or "Hi, I'm Steve from sales." But you also then encourage them to say something about themselves as a person or about their life, right? So I could say, "Hi, my name is Sam. My grandmother was Swedish, and I have 3 cats." Well, not only does that sort of help humanize everybody, help everybody sort of spark up a little bit, because now all of a sudden you go, "Oh my gosh, my grandfather was Finnish." No kidding, right? Or, "Oh my gosh, I have cats too," or, "Oh, I'm allergic to cats," or whatever it is. "Oh, I do vegan baking as well." Oh, cool. So now it's not just that guy from sales. It's, "Oh, that guy from sales who water skis on the weekends. That's cool." But more importantly, even, they will have better contributions to the meeting because you have opened up the boxes inside of their mind that remind them that they are not just Sam from sales. They are a full person with ancestors, with history, with a life, with things they love and are passionate about. And that improves their problem-solving ability. It improves their communication skills. It improves their ability to come up with innovative ideas. So my secret agenda is for everybody to start doing the 15 minutes a day thing. I want everybody everywhere spending 15 minutes a day on something that matters to them. And then part 2, I want them talking about it.
It really seems like an invitation to re-engage in our life and do things that we might have thought were a little scary before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And reminding yourself the thrill of doing things that scare you. Sometimes, especially when I'm not sure how to write something I need to write, I will tell myself, "Okay, I'm going to write with the firm intention of deleting or throwing out the entire thing. I'm not going to keep this. No one will ever see it. I'm just going to write it and then I'm going to delete it." And it is amazing what comes out of me when I tell myself that. I shock myself almost every time. Sometimes I do delete it or parts of it, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that is really what I meant to say in a much stronger and clearer way than I probably ever would have permitted myself to have said it before this. So you can kind of trick yourself a little bit and remind yourself that doing or saying the things that are scary can actually be really exhilarating and liberating and lead you, to wherever it is your life is going, and enjoy the process.
Well, my goodness, Sam. I mean, we could talk about the 15-minute method for a very long time. I love this book, and I think it's so empowering. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community, and also learn how they can sign up for this workshop you're doing? Because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, so you can find me at therealsambennett.com. And then I'm The Real Sam Bennett on all the socials, so I'm pretty easy to find. And there you can sign up for the practicum. I do a bunch of free stuff. I do a free live every week. So you really want to just get on the mailing list, on the email list, because I communicate primarily through email. I do try to remember to post things on the socials, but frankly, I don't always get to it. But if you're on the email list, then you will get all the good stuff, ton of free stuff. And then you can write me back and tell me how you're doing and what it brings up for you and what you've accomplished. I love to hear from people. So please, please, please get on my email list and then write me back.
Well, I am signing up, and I suggest everyone do the same. Well, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Sam. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, The 15-Minute Method, the surprisingly simple art of getting it done. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.